Okay, on Saturday, Donald Trump took to Truth Social, which at least it was on Truth Social. So no one was on it, but had a very, I don't know how many threads, 20 plus, like all caps threads about how he will be arrested today,
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, March 21st, when we're recording this. And he said, Anthony, I
Yep.
can do it. You could do it. We could both do it.
Oh, okay. All right. It's time. We are a nation in steep decline, being led into World War III by a crooked politician who doesn't even know he's alive. But who is surrounded by evil and sinister people who, based on their actions, are defunding the police, destroying our military, open borders, no voter ID, inflation, raising taxes, and much, much more. Can only hate our now failing USA. We just can't allow this anymore. They're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, protest, protest.
And the reason he said all that, thank you, amazing, is because, hang on, this is the real tweet that I wanted to show you, is because he announced that he was going to be arrested.
Yes.
Because of this court case that is playing out, of course, in Manhattan, the District Attorney Alan Bragg, who seems very, very poised, as we spoke about last week, to actually make Trump turn himself in and or arrest him. So, Anthony, can you just
Now this one.
last one?
Page 2. Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by big Jew George Soros, indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation, baby back ribs.
Here's my question, Anthony. Do the dentures come loose a little bit at some points?
Well, yeah. I remember whenever he did that thing where his dentures were coming loose and he said the United States, I started to add that sort of like times where it just gets, plus the COVID. I mean, he had that COVID that really like fucked you up. You know what I mean? Like he didn't
had
have
that
this
OG
like
COVID.
this COVID is like, I think this COVID's like a little milder, but he had the one that really
He
fucked
had
you up.
Delta.
Yeah, he had the serious one. And so I'm sure he's all kinds of fucked up. I mean, listen, he did this. You can't blame him. He's in the sense you can't fault him for his savviness. He clearly caught wind that they might arrest him or ask him to turn himself in. Probably most likely they asked him to turn himself in, right? They definitely the whole notion, and I love how cable media it's so crazy to me how cable media just runs right with it. And they're like, well, I mean, how would it look for Bragg if they arrest the president, bring him out in handcuffs? Nobody said that. Nobody said that except Trump. Trump did it because he wanted to basically take the sting out of what was going to happen. Right. And now also, if Bragg doesn't do it today, which it looks like he's not going to, right? Bragg doesn't do it today. What does it look like? It looks as if Bragg backed off. It looks as if Trump basically won. He can claim victory. Now, if there was a standoff, instead of Ruby Ridge, it would be called Ruby Tuesday Ridge. But
this is okay. I totally agree with you. And I also feel like this is all around the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. That's what this is about.
Yes.
It's again, he could be facing it's criminal charges. It's unclear if it's like a misdemeanor or if it's a felony. And if it is a felony, I mean, it all leads to the maximum prison time he could potentially face is 4 years. It's 4, but he won't face any prison time if he is actually ever convicted again.
The whole thing's a waste of time. In my opinion, honestly, I think it's a huge waste of time. I think it's listen, I'm not like against prosecuting Trump or whatever, but this has been some weird fucking fantasy that people have had since he was elected. He was elected partly because of Russian troll farms that sort of gamed the algorithm, but primarily because Clinton didn't go to Michigan and Wisconsin and just had both, I think, the media gamed against her, and she also wasn't a good candidate. So you had disaffected leftists because Bernie had his biggest surge then. There's all these factors as to why he got elected. And then all they've been doing is this weird fantasy of like, we're going to march him out in handcuffs. He's a criminal. We're going to march him out in handcuffs. To what end? To what end? What does it matter? And when he goes away, I mean, you look at that, you know, his best line out the door is Meatball Ron. It's so much better than
Thank you.
Meatball Ron's brilliant. And by the way, Ron DeSantis has an Ice Cube's chance in hell of getting elected president. He is such a boring fucking pig jowl of a piece of shit. He is not interesting at all. He's only interesting in Florida.
He does look, when you just said pig jowl, have you ever seen in the butcher shops when they actually like deface the pig? I apologize for any like vegetarians and vegans out there. Very upsetting. But like, you know how you just have like the shell of that pig
That's
face?
what he looks like.
That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back up and take this for parts.
Dump. Yeah.
So he calls on everyone to protest, support him and whatnot. This was the night. This was Monday outside of Center Street. 10 members of media for every one Trump supporter. There's nobody here. A lot of people stayed away. And it's true that even folks like, Ali Alexander, remember that little dipshit who helped plan the January 6th, Capitol riots. He's like, he's basically saying we should not travel to New York City. But he's like, January 6th wasn't sloppy. Physical processing must remain part of the human tradition forever. Fuck off. You believe in the history and the tradition of protest in this country.
Yeah. But he'll be on Jimmy Dore next week.
Oh, sure.
And him and Tulsi Gabbard, all of them, they'll all be together. Hanging out and palling around. Sorry.
You get two doors.
Stop.
The
That's
third,
it. I'm done.
It's
done.
Beetlejuice, and he comes, and he's gonna be like, this guy. Look at this. This
guy.
This guy thinks he's a Trump impersonator. Look at him. Look at his face. This guy.
Wait, where? Who? What?
No, this. Have you watched Jimmy Dore? This is all he does. He just looks at these clowns are talking about me.
Yeah, he does. He points. He does the pointing. Yeah. I know. What
we do in the shadows. These guys live in the shadows. Look at them.
I know. Well, the CIA is doing everything.
They're ISIS.
Sorry. Yes. ISIS. Yeah.
So Alexander, other folks, Kevin McCarthy said to stay away. This is Marjorie Greene saying basically how many feds or Fed assets are in place to turn the protests against the political arrest of President Trump into violence, which is such fucking I wish I were oppressed. Projection of really, no, because the FBI infiltrates groups called the Raging Grannies, who are anti-war singers. That's who the FBI spends their time infiltrating. Them and Black Lives Matter groups, not fucking white supremacists like yourself.
Well, listen, I think that it's all orchestrated and coordinated. I do believe that they coordinate these things not in a sense of like a conspiracy, but they see what's happening. They go, okay, good opportunity for us to make it look like we're prudent. Good opportunity for it to make it make it look as if we're not rabble. The same way that what happened on January 6th was hyper organized, purposeful, well financed, and the people who were doing it had money. I love the fiction that both, by the way, blue dog, Biden-y Democrats and also hard lefties and righties. Everyone sort of does this portrayal of like the poor, bedraggled white man fucking protester. No, these are people who could afford during a pandemic to fly to DC, stay in a hotel for multiple days. Okay, and wear flak jackets that cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
Yes.
And fake weapons and real weapons. And this is, again, always what's happening here is the dalliance of the credit card class and people who have money. This is all it is in every single area, including the far left.
And PPP loans. You guys remember? You remember that? Remember how a few of the the 3%ers really need like a bailout right now because our militias had to kind of backpedal during the pandemic, which we don't believe is real. But if you could just help us out on our race war, God, dude, we really need that loan. And the government was like, here you go.
Yeah. Best policy, by the way, the best policy employed since Bush sent those checks to people in 2002 or whatever, whenever he sent those checks. But the one truth that is always universal is that when you give American citizens money, they love it. Sure. There is never a time when people don't love getting a check or free money they don't have to pay back. The crazy part is that we, at least at a minimum, used to be critical, as people were very critical of Bush when they sent those $400 checks. I remember that. And I was too. I was like, this guy's buying people off, blah, blah, blah. But at least everyone got a check for $400, yes. Right?
Let's just pivot to DeSantis, right? Because he had a response. There was a little bit of back and forth between Trump and DeSantis this week after Trump, preemptively announced he'd be arrested.
Yeah.
So here's DeSantis being asked what he thinks about it. And notice the defense of Donald Trump, but then the immediate shade.
From the Florida Standard, we wanted to know what your thoughts are on the rumored Trump indictment, and if you have any role in it. If charges are brought on him, will you have any role in extradition to New York?
So I've seen rumors swirl. I have not seen any facts yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor. And so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors, they weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast, vast majority of crimes. And what we've seen in Manhattan is we've seen the crime rate go up, and we've seen citizens become less safe. And so you're talking about this situation with, and look, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that.
Oh, okay. So Soros,
yeah,
crime in New York, which is Juju,
blacks,
black,
Latinos,
yeah.
Latinos. Yeah. That's all that really is.
Exactly. Which is amazing, Anthony, because in the same breath that he's kind of throwing shade, and a lot of people on the right have been like, okay, we're not going to go out and protest. We're going to, not necessarily wig you here. They're regurgitating the exact same line that Trump put out, which is it's a Soros DA and the crime and the third world America bullshit.
Yeah.
So anyway, but
that's universal. Anti-Semitism is universal across, again, all spectrums. I only say this is just for anyone listening and watching. Really check all your sources, no matter whether you agree with it or not, because the whole, it's the Jews' fault or blacks are doing this is now pervasive, no matter where you are, no matter what end of the political spectrum you are, there's somebody there delivering some bullshit.
Not true.
And so,
the best, anyway,
anyway, Meatball Ron, his big thing.
What do you think?
I think he better watch his mouth, because he liked to hang out with the teens when he was teaching. And I'm sure someone's got some dirt sitting there ready to dump it when they're ready. But again, no threat. Meatball Ron is going to roll back onto the pasta plate.
Wow. First of all, anti-Italian discrimination.
I'm Italian. I don't give
Anthony. We should not hate on one another, but no, I agree with you. Everyone's divided on this, whether or not, I have never been more sort of intrigued by Ron DeSantis's ability to fight, because I feel like he's been really weak at this point.
Yeah.
Until now, we're seeing that clip. I'm like, okay, well, are you going to be like, I don't know about this hush money to pay a porn star to be quiet about the affair.
Yeah, but it's bitchy. My thing is it's bitchy. It's bitchy. And listen, the demo of people who are going to make the decision in the primary of who they vote for. And we also don't even know. There could be some other weird GOP person that shows up, some Jackson Hinkle or something. But
God, stop naming all these ghouls.
They're all ghouls, and they're all slowly gaining popularity over the years. But I think whatever the whoever ends up showing up there, the thing is that there's still a big thing with maleness and masculinity and the alpha male and all that. And the way he's being Trump can throw bitchy shade like he's B. Arthur and people think it's masculine.
Right.
DeSantis tries it on and it does not fly the same way. And that's my point, is no one can do what Trump can do. And this is not an endorsement of Donald Trump, but for some reason he has that sort of almost Rat Packy, Don Rickles-y sort of Carson era style of shade that still feels like it's in the bar room. Whereas DeSantis feels like he's in the supermarket, you know, between the like Inquirer and, you know, the People magazine, saying something sassy as he's checking stuff out. And if I were advising them, that would be what I would lean into. And you see in Trump's response, he's leaning into that.
Well, you see it. Let's look at it. He says Ron DeSanctimonious will probably find out about false accusations and fake stories sometime in the future as he gets older, wiser, and better known. When he's unfairly and illegally attacked by a woman, even classmates that are, quote, underage, which air quotes, scare quotes, Anthony, for underage.
Which Donald Trump should be watching himself with that, but also, or possibly a man.
Or possibly a man.
Or possibly a man. And let me tell you, I think that that's the real story, is probably much like all the other Republican, everybody. I mean, it seems like everybody, but, you know, especially these moralizers tend to have a DL life. And I would not be surprised if Ron DeSantis was on the DL in some fashion. That, by the way, does not mean
their version of DL is also like a non-consensual DL. Like it's always like, oh no, he groped a male staffer.
Right.
He still has his job.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is like, I think that this is one of the problems is impugning people for their sexuality is not what we should be doing, but impugning people for the hypocrisy and for their behavior in relationship to what they then publicly express is different. So
absolutely. Yeah. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.